Good morning, my friends. I'm Pastor Ben Hayes from First Baptist Church, Dadeville, Alabama, bringing you our thought for the day. What a great day God has given us today. And we got men's Bible study at 10, family night supper 4:45, prayer meeting Bible study, handbell practice 5:45, and celebration choir at 7. So what a great day it's going to be. Come and join us. Lots of stuff going on, kids and youth tonight too, 5:45. So listen, you'll want to be here today, I promise you. Now, how many of you did your list yesterday? You know those people that you owe to love, right? That you got to let go of those grudges and that bitterness and grab hold of them with love. Well, remember what Paul says, Romans 13, verse 8, owe no one anything except to love one another, for he who loves another has fulfilled the law. Now, here he gets specific. Think about this. He says, for the commandments, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, you shall not covet. Did you see that? How many of those is that? Let's count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half of the 10. Remember, the first half of the 10 Commandments deals with our relationship with God and how we honor Him. The last half has to do with how we deal with the people around us. And here's what He says. And if there's any other commandment are all summed up in this saying, namely, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Because if you love somebody, you're not going to commit adultery. You're not going to kill them. You're not going to rob them. You're not going to lie about them. You're not going to want what they have, because true love says, I want you to have the best of everything. And I'm so happy for you when you get it. If you've got a better job, that's fantastic. If you get more money, that's great. If you got a bigger house, I'm excited for you because I love you from the depths of my being. Now think about it. Think about it. Are you jealous of your kids? I mean, if they do better than you did, are you jealous of them or are you happy for them? I got to tell you, I'm happy for them. I'm excited that they have a bigger house. I'm excited that they make more money. I'm excited because I love them and I want them to have more than I had, right? That's what we have to do with everybody. That's how we need to relate to everyone, because true love wants the best for others. That's the kind of love God has for you. That's the kind of love that Jesus has for you. That's the kind of love that sent Him to the cross to die for our sins because He wanted better for us. What we deserved, where we were headed, eternity in hell. What He did for us is He took the punishment for our sin so that we could have forgiveness and have everlasting life. And all of the commandments are summed up in this one saying, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And look at how Paul concludes this in verse 10. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. Now, are you like the scribes and Pharisees who asked Jesus, well, who then is my neighbor? You remember that? And Jesus gave them the parable of the Good Samaritan. Let's talk about that for just a minute. Here we got this man. He's traveling from Jericho to Jerusalem, and he gets laid upon by robbers, and they beat him, and they rob him, and they leave him on the side of the road as if he were dead. And he's wounded and bleeding and bloody. And keep in mind, in those days, that was a very dangerous road to be walking on. And very often, criminals would do that. They would beat somebody, leave them there, and then they would wait until the person comes along to help them. Then they would jump on them too. All right, so they're there, and all of a sudden, this Levite comes by, the guy who is supposed to be helping in the temple. He sees him. He walks by on the other road, probably because he's going to work in the temple, and he can't be unclean by touching somebody who has wounds like that. Priest walks by, does the same thing, probably going to work in the temple, one of the great honors of his life, and yet he sees this guy and he doesn't want to be made unclean, so he passes on by him. And then comes this Samaritan man, the Samaritan who would be hated by the Jewish man that had been beaten and left bloodied. And he takes him and he binds his wound. He takes him to an end. He pays for his care, says, if I owe you any more when I come back through, I will pay that later. He promises to take care of the man's debt. Think about that. And Jesus says, who then is the neighbor in this parable? And the moral of the story is that anybody who has a need is our neighbor. Well, can I ask you this? Who needs love in our world today? all of us. Everyone needs to be loved, and we need to love everyone because that's what God has commanded us to do. Think about that today. Be blessed. We'll be back here tomorrow.